Welcome back to Gene and
Welcome
Roger
back.
Talk Movies.
Yes.
It's Kill List today, which is one of the most generic titles, of course.
Yes.
But that's okay. Gene said, how about Kill List? Came out in 2011. It's from the UK. Gene, where are you at with Kill List?
For the second week in a row, we're doing an IFC movie. So I don't know if we really planned that, but it just
No, we
happened.
planned nothing.
But yeah, independent movie channel, so film channel. So yeah, it was good. It was good. But kind of the novelty for Good Boy last week kind of hid a movie that has some flaws, but we still recommended it for sure. But this movie, it's just like I think I did this once before. It's like what movie do we do next week? So I just on the internet I just typed in horror movies I haven't seen yet. And this big list came up, and a lot of the movies on the list were stuff we've seen. Like Audition, The Descent, Martyrs, things like that. We've seen all those. And those were all three great movies. And then this movie was on the list, and I was like, oh. I think you recommended what?
Return of the Living Dead.
Part 5?
No, part 1.
No, we've done that.
No, we have not.
We have.
No, we have not.
Return of the Living
Return
Dead.
of
Oh,
the
we've
Living
done
Dead.
Night of the Living Dead. Sorry. Yeah. But this movie, it started off, moves rather slow, let me just say. But I'll just get to the point. It's like, I think this movie is just trying to do too much.
No, you thought that, did you?
Yeah, it's just, it has influences. It's like watching it. I got caught influences from the movie Descent, which was on the list, but which by the way is a great movie. Descent definitely influences like Blair Witch Project, Midsommar. Actually, I caught a lot of that. But there's just this movie. It's going so many different directions, and I think the producers, directors, they lost sight of. I think the essential quality is that you have to have likable characters. All the characters in this movie, they revolves around these two guys, Jay and Gal. They used to be in the British Army, I guess. And now they're contract killers. And Gal is married to this woman named Shell. I guess she's Norwegian or something. But they both have volatile tempers, and they just lose it on each other. And Gal has this, again, a huge temper, and they go on these contracts where they have to kill these people. But the movie introduces each of the persons to us as they kill them, like the priest. Then there's the librarian, and the MP. And it's interesting that as they're killing these people, that the people are like thankful. So it makes me think this like. That these people are so depraved, and Jay and Gal goes like, "Oh, we're here for a reason," which is another reference to a movie, But and then they get to this MP, which is a member of Parliament. So this guy is high up in British royalty. So they go to his house, and it's this huge estate, this big castle, and all of a sudden they find all these people walking in robes and torches, straight out of Midsommar. And I don't know, it's like things happen and they're not really announced. I mean, this movie is just trying to do just a little bit too much. I think they try to narrow its focus, because I really wanted to see something happening with Gal's ferocious temper. Like he goes on this hunt for the librarian and they kill him. But it turns out this librarian is engaged in this secret life, and he has all these secret porn videos where it's hurting people, and he just loses it in this righteous anger, and he kills all these people with his hammer, and he tortures this librarian, bashes his leg and his hand, kills him with a hammer, which is pretty horrific stuff. But it doesn't go anywhere. I thought that would reappear later, but it doesn't. So it's just, I was really disappointed because the trailers for this movie presented as being all this, and it's just like the greatest horror movie ever. Like it's going to disturb you, and it's just
yeah. They all do that, Gene.
They all do that. But why do I believe that still, Roger? But this movie I was disappointed. Again, it left me flat. and it just things are happening and things aren't explained. And good movies like each of those movies that I've mentioned, they follow the classic story arc. There's building tension, climax, falling action. It just works. So follow the formula. But this movie doesn't follow that. It builds a little bit, especially with go back to his anger, Gal's anger, but then it just levels off, and then I don't like this. I didn't like it, Roger. Didn't like it. Didn't like it. Didn't like it. Didn't like it.
All right.
Sorry.
Yeah, this is not a movie I'm going to watch again, although I do look at it maybe a little differently than Gene does. This movie reminds me, it's very similar to a lot of movies that we've seen before where you think it's one thing and then it morphs into something else. The most recent one maybe being Sinners, where it's this one story and then suddenly vampires show up, right? From Dusk Till Dawn, it's a crime story and then vampires show up. And so it's one of those. The anger piece, I actually am okay with that character because they talk about the evil guys that have hired him, who are apparently part of this cult that are apparently looking to bring back their leader or whatever, have determined that this really angry hitman guy is the chosen one for this.
Right.
And so the ending of the movie, his anger has kind of left him based on how he's behaving after he has killed the final victim. And so I thought that was interesting because they kept talking about how they had to reconstruct him. And so I liked that stuff. Again, I'm never watching this movie again. It's not good as far as what Gene said with there are no likable characters here. And for about 10 minutes, I'm like, did I hit play on the right movie called Kill List? Because there's a couple of them, because the very beginning of this movie is the wife and the husband just screaming at each other.
Yeah.
Screaming and screaming and screaming at each other.
And that doesn't seem to go anywhere.
And for me, it was, am I watching the right movie, or is this some drama about a relationship falling apart, right?
Right.
But then it picks up and gets into it. The other thing I will point out about this movie as well is I'm a dumb American. I was having difficulty understanding some of the dialogue early on through those very thick accents.
Yeah, I had to turn on the closed caption.
I was thinking about it, but I think I appreciate this movie a little bit better in what it is trying to do with its convoluted and almost incomprehensible storyline.
Yeah.
Because really, in my opinion, at the end, because they kept talking about you've got to kill these 3 people, and then you get, like Gene said, yep, here's the priest, and here's the librarian, and here's the MP. There's apparently some problem that this hitman had in Kiev or whatever, and it sounds to me like maybe it's because he kind of goes off script a little bit with his killing duties.
In the librarian.
And then he does that again. So you see that again. But what I think the 3 people he was supposed to kill as far as this cult is concerned was the last 3 people he killed. There's one called the Hunchback at the end, which is foreshadowed, but you only recognize it's foreshadowing if you see the entire film.
Right.
But he had ended up killing 3 people there, which I think was part of his reconstruction because they had to get him to a point of complete isolation where he had no human connections anymore. Are you following what I'm saying there?
Following,
but it does kind of, again, this is one of these movies where not a lot's going to be explained. It goes off in different directions, like Gene said. And again, was I watching it and was I entertained as I was watching it, or was I involved as I was watching it? Sure. But this is not a movie I'm ever watching again.
Yeah. I watched it with my wife, and then she brought the non-likable characters, especially like Gal and Jay. It's that you really don't care what happens to them.
Right.
So what's the deal that Gal, that Jay gets killed in these tunnels, and who cares? And this Gal, the guy Gal, you're not invested in their characters. Like in some of the movies that I've mentioned, they make likable characters. And by the way, I've mentioned Descent, and it turns out that gal's wife, her name in the movie is Shell, but her real name is Mayanna Burning, and she was in Descent, and actually Descent 1 and 2, right? Do you pick that up?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so yeah, of course you did. I mean, you're the horror movie guy.
If she was in anything that wasn't horror related, I don't know what that was.
Yeah, she was actually at an episode of Doctor Who way back in the day, and then she was also in the movie The Witcher, Henry Cavill's like fantasy kind of. So she's definitely heavily involved in British productions for sure. But in that movie, it's talk about Descent, is that she's a likable character. You want them to escape these caves, and they go through regular human emotions and tension builds, and yeah, that movie just works. It's a great movie. Like I would watch it again tomorrow. Why not? But this movie, yeah, I'm not ever going to watch it again. It's just,
well, and I think
just why
part of the, there's, to me, the closest comparison as far as the characterizations is from Dusk Till Dawn, right? Because similar characters, evil characters, are your main protagonists, but you like the George Clooney and I don't remember the rest of the actors in that movie, but you like him even though he's an evil fellow. And then when he gets in this position with the vampires everywhere, you actually are on his side. These characters in here are just so despicable on so many levels. There's no redeeming qualities in any of their characters at all.
No.
And that's the big problem here. You needed to have some sort of hook there where you were actually invested in what's going to happen to this guy. And then at the ending sequence where a really terrible thing happens to this guy, you don't even really care.
Yeah. Yes, like my wife is whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just maybe make him more... I think that they attempt that, but I just wanted to see something happening with his anger. Like, yeah, it makes me think of the movie When Evil Lurks, which is another great movie, by the way.
Highly recommended.
Yeah,
perfect for Halloween season.
Great. In that movie, I'm just thinking the main character in that movie, he has this huge anger problem, and his anger actually accelerates the force of the evil that is taking over the culture and his life and destroying his family. If the guy had just calmed out, maybe he finds a way out, but no, can't. His anger destroys his own self in the classic tragedy. But here, it's like, again, I got to go back to the anger, because the anger is such a huge part of this movie at the beginning, and then it just seems to evaporate. I just to me, that's a major flaw of this movie. I mean, like him and Gal and Shell has this dinner party at the beginning. She organizes a dinner party. Jay shows up with Fiona, who's actually a member of this witch organization. Cult thing. And their dinner party, and their relationship, Gal and Shell, is just terrible. And during the dinner party, they start shooting little barbs at each other. And Gal doesn't appreciate it. So he gets up and he just throws his plate over, says, "I'm done," in front of everyone. And then he gets up and he just rips the tablecloth out. And a massive scene, huge yelling, screaming. And yeah, and you see that again when the killings of the librarian, that pops up again, and it almost destroys Jay's and Gal's relationship. But then it just... I don't know. You don't see it when they're getting the MP. Do we really see it when he's killing the hunchback? Yeah. It just falls flat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, what the dinner scene, there's like this 20-minute sequence there when the movie starts where you're just really like, am I really watching the right movie? Because this is like some intense family drama where everyone hates everyone, and it's about a marriage disintegrating, and they happen to have a small child.
Yeah, there's a kid just trapped in all of it.
And it's just like, not a good way to start your movie, especially based on how the rest of the movie plays out, where ultimately that was all unnecessary stuff.
Yeah, exactly, because they didn't use any of it.
No.
I don't see it being used. Yeah.
No. And so, But again, I will say I was intently watching what was happening in this movie. So I'm not beating myself up for having seen it. It's just, again, I'm never watching it again.
Yeah.
And you can judge a quality of a horror movie. Would I watch it again? And if the answer is yes, yeah, you've seen a good one.
I'd probably say that of probably any movie that's pretty good. You know, comedy, drama, thriller, action. If it's really good. How many times have I seen Die Hard? I mean, come on.
Yeah, I don't know. I did. This is completely off the subject of our show, but I did watch Revenge of the Nerds 2 days ago.
Oh yeah,
for the first time in probably 3 decades.
A confession: I don't think I've ever seen that movie.
I'm not saying you should or shouldn't, but it's a thing that does exist, and it's an interesting film. Not a horror film on any level.
Yeah. We're getting way off topic here. Yeah.
But a movie like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which I've seen so many times, and each time I view it,
50 times.
You know, I can see different interesting things in there. Those are some of the draws. And sometimes you do want to go back to a movie like even Good Boy from last week, where, yeah, when it's on streaming, I'm going to watch it again to see what other little tricks the director put in there to tell the story. This one, I don't care, right? I've seen it play out. I know how it ends. And there's no real need for me to go back and go, oh, that's what that meant, or, oh, that's what this was talking about, because it doesn't matter. You hate the characters.
Yeah, in college, I was in this French class, right? It's not off topic yet. But it's part of, it's not an assignment, but, you know, at my college, you know, they showed these French films. And so I was with some friends, you know, we went to see this French film. And this thing was this 3-hour most boring thing in the world. And we were talking about, should we just go, you know? And we were just like, no, let's just say, because we wanted just to see how it turns out. Mm-hmm. You know, so it's kind of like watching this movie. I hate to say it compared to that movie, because you stay with it because you just want to see how it ends up. You know, what happens to these guys. So, but it's just, the pacing's a little too slow. I wish it had been moving up, especially again at the beginning. Yeah. But yeah, I was a little disappointed.
Yeah, it's only 92 minutes long, I think. Yeah. It does seem longer, and they could have got it down to 82 minutes by just cutting the entire first act, really.
Again, I'm just disappointed by just his anger. Mm-hmm. It just doesn't seem to. They just they have it, tuck it in like a football somewhere along the way, but before they get into the end zone, drops it.
Right. Nice. We've seen too much of that this year in NFL.
Yes,
already,
exactly. So, we're bringing up NFL.
Yeah, yes. No doubt. Which, of course, is part of the reason this movie is a good example of that, where we're talking about other things. We've brought up football, Revenge of the Nerds, some French movie that Gene had to see.
I didn't have to see it. Right. There's some friends, and we're just like, we got to stay and watch at the end. It was so boring.
Do you remember what the name of it was?
No, of course not. Yeah. Some dumb French thing.
Well, there is plenty of French horror that we've seen,
which is really, pretty darn good.
Yeah, no, so they know what they're doing when it comes. Yeah,
and Raw. Right?
It's just, if it's got Francois Truffaut in the title, you don't want to see that one. You want to see the other French movies. Yeah. But Gene, anything more to say about Kill List?
No, I've talked out.
Yeah. Also, can you get a more generic title than Kill List? I swear to God, there's probably 45 low-budget action movies called Kill List. So if you do want to see this movie, make sure it's the one that's about horror, because you'll run across 2011.
2011, again, the actress, Mariana Burning.
Yeah. And so, Gene, do we want to do Return of the Living Dead next week?
Yeah, let's just do that. Return of the Living Dead.
1985. If you've never seen it before,
I'm sighing because I have dread.
This is another one that is a recognized cult classic throughout the entire world, and we will see what Gene thinks of it next week.
We'll see.
Yeah. So thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you next week. Bye-bye.
Yeah. Watch that horror movie.